start off with the next part of this chapter. Now, as the child who was looking for his parents, he did not get them, and as he called for his parents, there was no reply. He turned to look at his parents. They were not there ahead of him. He turned to look on either side. They were not there. He looked behind. There was no sign of them, and the child could not find his parents anywhere. A full deep cry rose within his dry throat. His throat was dry because of thirst, also because of fright, and with sudden jerk of his body. That is, his body shook vehemently, violently, because he was so panic-stricken. He ran from where he stood, crying in real fear, "Mother, father!" Tears rolled down from his eyes, hot and fierce. His flushed, that is red and hot face was convulsed with fear. That is, his whole body was shaking because of fear, because he was lost. Panic-stricken, he ran to one side first, then to the other, hither and thither, that is here and there, in all directions. Knowing not where to go, he didn't know where to go because his parents were not there to guide him. "Mother, father," he wailed, that is, he continued crying. His yellow turban, the turban that he tied on that festive day, it was untied, and his clothes became muddy, but he did not have any care for that. Having run to and fro, from here and there, in a rage of running for a while, that is, he was so panic-stricken, he was running here and there to search for his parents, but he could not find them. He stood defeated. He stood for some time, and he was feeling defeated. That is, he could not find his parents, and he did not know where to find them. And his cries suppressed into sobs, and his cry, that is loud wailing, it was replaced by sobs. At little distance on the green grass he could see through his filmy eyes, tear-filled eyes. Because of that his view was hazy. He could see men and women talking. He tried to look intently among the patches of bright yellow clothes, and with a lot of attention, he tried to look for the familiar faces, but there was no sign of his father and mother among these people, who seemed to laugh and talk just for the sake of laughing and talking. And as he was so distraught and he could not find his parents, he did not see any reason why these people were laughing and talking. He ran quickly again, this time to a shrine, to a temple, to which people seemed to be crowding. Every little inch of space here was congested with men. But he is a small child, so he ran through people's legs, his little sob lingering, "Mother, father," and he was similarly crying for his parents, and he was trying to find them. Near the entrance to the temple, however, the crowd became very thick. Men jostled each other, that is, they were pushing each other to find their way. Heavy men with flashing, murderous, cruel eyes and hefty shoulders. That is, for this child, these men who were not at all familiar, they looked very cruel. The poor child struggled to thrust away between their feet, but knocked to and fro by their brutal movements. He wanted to find a way, but as the men were heavier, he was pushed here and there. He might have been trampled underfoot, and he could have been, because he's a small child, not visible, and people had no time to look at him, so he could have been trampled. Had he not shrieked at the highest pitch of his voice, "Father, mother," that is, nobody had any time to look at the child, and had he not cried the loudest, he would have been easily trampled underfoot. A man in the surging crowd heard his cry, and stooping, bending with great difficulty, lifted him up in his arms. But in this crowd of violent men who did not at all care for the child, there was a kind, caring man who bent and picked him up. "How did you get here, child? Whose baby are you?" This man was a kind one. He asked, "Whose baby are you?" The man asked as he steered clear of the mass, as he was finding his way out, as he picked up the child. The child wept more bitterly than ever now, only cried, I want my mother, I want my father. And the child did not have enough common sense or presence of mind to answer him, he was only crying. The man tried to soothe him, console him, by taking him to the roundabout which he wanted to, where he wanted to enjoy the ride. He was taken there by the man, by the stranger. Will you have a ride on the horse? He gently asked as he approached the ring. He wanted to console the child, so he took him to the roundabout. The child's throat tore into 1,000 shrill sobs, but this roundabout, which was so appealing to him few minutes before, it did not have any attraction for the child, and he only shouted, I do not want anything, what do I want? I want my mother, I want my father. The man then moved towards the place where the snake charmer still played on the flute to the swaying cobra. That is, the cobra was still moving its head to the rhythm of the music. Listen to the nice music, child, he pleaded. He wanted to soothe the child anyway, by any means. But the child shut his ears with his fingers and shouted his double-pitched strain, the same strain. I want my mother, I want my father, I want nothing else. The man took him near the balloons, thinking these bright colors of the balloons would distract the child's attention and quieten him. Would you like a rainbow-colored balloon? He persuasively asked. He wanted to persuade the child. The child turned his eyes from the flying balloons and just sobbed. I want my mother, I want my father. That is, those things which are so attractive to him, suddenly they lost their values. The man then, still trying to make the child happy, bore him to the gate where the flower seller sat. Look, can you smell those nice flowers, child? Would you like a garland to put round your neck? That is, he wanted the child to have a garland of flower, which he wanted from his parents. But the child turned his nose away from the basket and repeated, I want my mother, I want my father. That is, as the man was trying to console the child by giving the same gifts which the child wanted so desperately a moment before, so that the child becomes a little quiet and he can ask about the parents' whereabout, but the child did not have any attraction for the same things. He was continuously crying and wailing and looking for his father and mother. Thinking to soothe his disconsolate, it is the child who could not be consoled, who was in his charge now, by a gift of sweets, the man took him to the counter of a sweet shop. What sweets would you like, child? He asked. The child turned his face from the sweet shop and only sobbed, I want my mother, I want my father. That is, the things that the child wanted suddenly lost all the attraction, and the only thing that the child wanted were his parents. Now, in this chapter, the author, the central theme of the chapter is that for a child, his parents are the most important. That is, the bond between a parent and the child is portrayed in this chapter, and the things that he yearned for, they immediately lost their value when he did not find his parents anymore, and the only thing he wanted were his parents.